Hey everyone, welcome to SIFTD HQ episode 15. I'm sorry I'm not shooting the open and close out in LA somewhere. We've had major issues here in the studio this week. Our studio completely flooded and we finally got it back in order, and so I haven't had time to set up shots anywhere else, so I'm doing it here. This is also why there was not an episode of HQ last week. We shoot the whole show in here and it was literally flooded. So we're back in business. The good news is that finally, in this week's episode of SIFTD HQ, Mitch pushes the power button. Let's see what happens.
Hey Sifters, welcome back to Make It, where we make things in front of you for your viewing pleasure. And on today's Make It, we are in the final home stretch for building my PC. We have the final parts, we're putting them in, and we're seeing if the thing turns on. Check it out.
When we left off last, I only had a couple elements left. The first one I had to do was my graphics card, and thanks to Shane offering me a better screwdriver, everything went without a hitch. Finally, last but not least, my main component that I have to install is my power supply. Once I got that all installed, I looked at these cables and said, oh my, where do these all go? Because I didn't just have my power supply, I still had to insert my fans and other components. So I figured where I had to put things. I had to put my power supply in for my main power, I had to put in one for my CPU, I had to put one in for my graphics card, and then I had to insert my fans into the right spot so they could receive power as well. And voila, I had all my cables in and I already organized the back, so all I have to do is put the back plate in and I can hit the power button. And then, finally, after all the money I spent buying the parts you suggested and the hours building it, the moment of truth. Will it turn on? It didn't work. I did double check the power switch and flipped it one more time just to see, and it still didn't work. Then I remembered this power outlet is on a breaker that sometimes is turned off. I went and flipped it, and still no luck.
I'm pretty bummed I couldn't get the thing to turn on, but I'm not giving up just yet. I do have a friend that has built his own PC before, so I'm going to reach out to him for some help. So stay tuned to next week for an update.
Hi and welcome to the 6 biggest news stories in gaming for the week ending June 9th, 2020. I'm Shane Satterfield for SIFTD News, and blow, I got a desk. Let's get to the news. Google Stadia has been a major disappointment ever since it was announced, and it just got more bad news. One of the service's marquee games won't be coming at launch. Cyberpunk 2077 for Stadia was originally scheduled to release alongside the other versions on September 17th. But now, CD Projekt Red will only commit to the launch before the end of 2020. Stadia really needs the big hits to come out day and date with other platforms, but it appears with Cyberpunk 2077 that will not be the case. Last week, PlayStation had scheduled a big PlayStation 5 blowout for Thursday, but it decided to postpone the event out of respect for the George Floyd protests. Now we have a new date. Sony didn't wait long, as it's been rescheduled for Thursday, June 11th at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Yes, that's in 2 days. PlayStation head Jim Ryan has already stated that it's time for consumers to see some first-party PlayStation 5 games, so we may get our first look at the rumored Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Keep your browser pointed to SIFTD.net all summer long as we untangle the crazy web of E3 replacement events. There are few events as big as the protests against the killing of George Floyd while in police custody. The gaming industry has reached out with support. In the last week, over 30 different gaming companies have donated large chunks of money to causes and charities to support Black Lives Matter. It's been a worldwide inflection point, and gaming companies have taken notice. We took notice of Chernobyl during its run on HBO, and now the director is turning his sights towards The Last of Us. We actually knew that Johan Renck was working on the series, but it was assumed that he was directing the entire thing. Now he stated that he's only guaranteed to work on the pilot and may ultimately assume an executive producer role. The more he works on it, the better. So we're hoping that he can commit to more. That is one thing that Kurt Schilling from 38 Studios could not do after releasing Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning. The former MLB Stars company released the action RPG back in early 2012 and quickly found itself in financial ruin. It was sued by the SEC for fraud, but the case was ultimately settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. Now the game is being revived for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One August 18th. It's a middle-of-the-road action RPG, but far worse games have been remastered. One game that may need to be remastered before it's even released is Dead Island 2. The sequel to the surprise hit has been in development for over 9 years and has switched studios at least once. This week we found out why, as gameplay from the first version of the game from 2015 was leaked on YouTube. While we can't show you the entire demo here, suffice to say, we understand why it was canceled. Deep Silver claims the game is still in development, and new job listings hint at a cross-generation release. Perhaps it's perfect that Dead Island 2 is in fact a video game zombie. All right, that's it for the Big Six, the 6 biggest news stories in gaming for the week ending June 9th, 2020. I'm Shane Satterfield for SIFTD News, and I'll see you next week.
Welcome back to Turned Up Tuesday, where we target the biggest games, albums, movies, and TV shows releasing this week. With one of the biggest games of Generation 8 on the horizon, this week's game releases prove that it's the darkest before the dawn. As we explore the dark reaches of space, we still don't know everything about the oceans. Attempt to remedy that with Beyond Blue. This single-player narrative adventure has you searching 8 different locations using near-future technology to track, interact, and scan sea creatures. It's all about furthering our understanding of our aquatic friends, and it's coming to every platform under the sea on Thursday. With both XCOM Chimera Squad and Gears Tactics being recently released, there's been no shortage of turn-based strategy to sink your teeth into. Neither lets you control a mech, but Warborn does. Bring peace to the solar system across over 40 campaign missions, where capturing structures to gain resources is just as important as making the one move to set up a kill shot. It also includes AI skirmishes, online one-on-one multiplayer matches, and a map builder. If you've finished both XCOM and Gears, this is the next one to pick up on Friday for all major platforms. Recent racing games tend to focus extensively on the car models, but Hotshot Racing does not care about that. This 90s-inspired arcade racer is all about that classic era that focuses on reflexes and fun. There are 5 single-player modes that feature drifting, police chases, and maintaining high speeds, and it all happens at 60 frames per second. There's also 4-player split screen and 8-player online support. So many ways to enjoy the open road, so much free time. As the world slowly comes out of quarantine, you're going to need a new soundtrack for getting all that fresh air. It's a slow week this week, but several great albums hit the charts the week before. We don't feature a ton of new hip-hop on the show, but last week, a monster release dropped. Run the Jewels launched its 4th album, RTJ4, on Friday, and it's incredible. Killer Mac's recent visit to the headlines doesn't hurt interest in this record either. There are collaborations on almost all of its 11 tracks, including classic rappers like Greg Nice and contemporary stars like Pharrell and 2 Chainz. There's even a track with Rage Against the Machine. It's shaping to be one of the albums of the summer, if there is one. It's already been a good year for metal albums, and a brand new band is making waves. The Ghosts Inside debut and self-titled LP is available now. Don't expect any lyrics about demons bursting out of a virgin's chest though. These guys are a straight-edge band, and while they call themselves hardcore, their chunky guitars sound more like Mortem than Minor Threat. If you're looking for some positive energy in these dark times, here's all you can handle. Our deep cut comes from Sonic Boom. His new album, All Things Being Equal, is a fuzzed-out electro-pop release that manages to find its own psychedelic sound. The name may not sound familiar, but he's the mind behind the legendary psych pop group Spacemen 3, and he formed the sound for MGMT's first 2 incredible albums. It has us briskly checked out, pick it up, and do the same. Theaters are slowly creaking back into action, but studios are still getting creative on how to distribute their big projects. Artemis Fowl was supposed to be released in theaters, but now it's going to join Disney Plus instead. It's an adaptation of the adolescent novels by the same name and follows a young genius as he searches for his missing father. It's gone through so many production hiccups that it should have been targeted for Disney Plus in the first place, and it's a great film to kick off your 12-year-old summer when it launches this Friday. Spike Lee finally won an Oscar for BlacKkKlansman, and now his next big project called Defy Bloods is coming to Netflix.
The film stars Chadwick Boseman as he and his group of war veterans return to Vietnam to search for the remains of their squad leader. Spike Lee has quite the pedigree, so this could be Netflix's next chance to win its first Oscar. It launches on the service this Friday.
Hey everyone, welcome to Noobs, where we show off all the new games that were just announced over the last 7 days. This is actually a bonus episode. You're getting 2 weeks in one. Mitch is on assignment, so he can't be here to do it, so I'm standing in for him, and we got a great episode this week. Half-Life Alyx is a game changer for VR, but that's the problem. It's a VR game. For the rest of us, there's Industria. Like Valve's popular series, there's a lot of mystery around this one. You must invade a shadowy complex filled with futuristic machinery and foreboding robots. It's a first-person game, but you'll be doing a lot more than just shooting. It's coming to PC in early 2021, and we're guessing console versions will follow. Studio Ghibli has an art style all its own, and many developers have tried to swipe it. That's the case with puzzle platformer Eternal Hope, which also borrows elements from the excellent Limbo. The animation is excellent, and its shadowy art style completes the theme. It's only coming to PC and Xbox One, and it launches August 6th of this year. Isometric action RPGs are usually relegated to high fantasy or sci-fi, but The Unliving takes things back to the 16-bit era with its pixelated graphics. It's also a completely unique take on the concept, as enemy saturation is one of its hallmarks. Playing the numbers game isn't always a recipe for success, but in this case, it brings a new light to a tired genre. Command the Undead when it launches for PC sometime in 2021. Speaking of numbers, they get really big when you start talking about the weapons count in Skeletal Avenger. This roguelike hack and slash featuring a bony protagonist also lets you charge headlong into battle, literally, since you can use body parts as weapons. Character customization is also one of its fortes, so don't think there isn't any meat on this game's bones. It's coming to every major platform at the end of 2020, and you'll have plenty of time to flesh out your finances before then. Project Cars started life as a PlayStation exclusive, but that went away with the second game, and now here comes Project Cars 3, and all bets are off. It's cross-generational and is also coming with VR support for both Vive and Rift. The craziest part is that the first versions will launch this summer. Not a lot is known about the other features just yet, but we should know more as it pulls out of the garage in a couple months. We don't usually tackle hardware on Noobs, but this week, a brand new micro console was announced. The Sega Game Gear Micro is coming in honor of Sega's 60th anniversary. There are 4 different versions, and each has 4 different games from the library of Sega's classic handheld. They'll sell separately for around $50 when they launch in Japan October 6th. A Western release date has not been announced.
NetherRealm has been on a tear since 2011, and Mortal Kombat 11 is its best game yet. And it keeps getting better with plenty of post-launch support like new characters, stages, skins, and more. Its biggest expansion yet, Aftermath, just launched, and we're asking the 3 C's: content, cost, and changes to... Aftermath is the first DLC to expand on the game's story mode. It picks up right at the end of the base game and focuses mainly on Shang Tsung, who works with the heroes to correct the fragmented timeline. This 5-chapter expedition takes about 3 hours to complete and debuts some new environments and fighters. The plot weaves nicely into the main arc instead of just tacking something onto it. Shang Tsung has a slimy reputation, and he manages to steal about every scene he's in.
Is unlikely to anticipate.
Along with the story mode expansion, you get access to 3 new fighters, including Fujin, Shiva, and Robocop. The paid content is rounded out by 3 new skin packs. Aftermath also launched alongside a free update that includes friendships, new stages, stage fatalities, balance tweaks, and more.
Friendship. Raiden wins.
Aftermath costs $40 if you already own the base game, or you can get it bundled with the base game for $60 if you're just jumping in. Though the new plotting characters are welcomed additions to the suite, unless you're planning on using them extensively online, it's hard to justify Aftermath's hours per dollar quotient. Mortal Kombat's biggest fans who already own the game are the ones really getting burnt. They'll have spent $100 total on this content, while a new customer can get it for $60. Aftermath should probably cost $10 or $20 at the most. The core combat has not changed, but the 3 new characters definitely add their own flavor that will dovetail into different playstyles. RoboCop is a ranged character who uses different types of artillery to attack from a distance. When enemies are far away, he's great, but when they close the distance, his robot side comes out and his punches and kicks lack fluidity. Shiva, on the other hand, excels at violating social distancing. She has a wide variety of grabs to throw opponents around like ragdolls, and combos are easy to string together. Fujin is a hybrid that excels from both distances. His ability to control the wind definitely gives him the most flash of the 3, but his combos are more complicated to pull off. Friendships have always been the strangest finishers in MK. You just tore me apart, but let's be friends. As always, they add some levity to the otherwise morose game. We've had fun trying different combinations of characters to see what happens. The new stages will mostly satisfy long-term fans since 2 of them come from classic entries in the series. Aftermath comes at a steep cost to Mortal Kombat's biggest fans, and it's not the first time. The first combat pack, consisting of 6 fighters, also costs $40. Fans will love every minute of this story expansion, and NetherRealm knows it can squeeze them for cash. It puts a bow on the plot, and there's simply no way they're going to miss it. And the truth is, they shouldn't, because it's really good. When it's all said and done, if you bought Mortal Kombat 11 at launch, you will have paid $140 for the base game, 9 DLC characters, a 3-hour story expansion, and some new stages. It's easily some of the highest priced DLC in the industry, but the quality has been great, and some of the additions add perpetual value to the game. It's not an easy decision to make, but if you're still playing Mortal Kombat 11 over a year after it released, you've likely already taken the plunge. If you're just joining the fight, a great deal awaits. And even if you're an owner of the base game, there have been other free updates since launch besides this last one. Data miners have uncovered some interesting clues that suggest more DLC may be coming. But either way, the post-launch support for Mortal Kombat 11 has been high quality with a price to match.
Fatality. Scorpion wins.
All right, so that's it for SIFTD HQ episode 15. A little fill-in duty for me on Noobs this week because Mitch was busy doing some other stuff. Pretty devastating to see the result of Mitch's PC build, but he's not gonna give up. So come back next week to see how it all shakes out. See you guys then.